Well, hello, everybody. Welcome into Season 8, Episode number 23 of the Let's Go Devils podcast on, of course, the Let's Go Devils podcast network. I'm Scotty, talking to you from out in LA, and then cross country over there to NJ, the man, the myth, the legend, the Jersey Shore master right there, Shorts guy, starting in between the pipes for this special edition, which is entitled Devils Kick It Up a Notch. So hello to everyone on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and everywhere else you like to listen to this podcast on. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and all that good stuff so you get alerts as to when we are going live, which we do before every game with Shorts Guy and Vinny Parisi on Game Day Live, and then post-game Devils After Dark, we're yours truly and the king of the football call, Sam by God Woo. So there was a lot of nervousness in Devils Town. You know, recently I myself hit the panic button after the walloping by the Peg, the old Winnipeg Jets, where the Devils just got crushed and annihilated. Shut out for the 8th time. Ironically, the Devils have 8 shutouts, and they've been shut out 8 times. It's kind of weird how sometimes those things
odd.
just even out, right? Yeah, it is odd. So
It's very odd.
yeah, but yeah, shutout once again. I hit the panic button for myself because the Devils only have 7 games left on the season, and you have teams that are trailing them, like the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Rangers, and the Icelanders. And the Icelanders, I believe, lost again today, and I think the Rangers.
They did.
Did they play? They played tonight. Did the Rangers play tonight, or did they play yesterday?
They played yesterday, and they beat the Sharks 6-1.
They beat the Sharks. So, looking at the standings now, I know Columbus has like 4 games in hand, I think.
Yeah.
So Columbus has just fallen down. They've only played 72 games. The Rangers have played 74. Devils at 75. Now, both of them are currently sitting on the outside of the playoff picture, with Ottawa with a commanding 84-point lead, 84 points there in the first wild card. And now Montreal Canadiens are up there in the second wild card position with 73 games played and 77 points on the season. But Columbus has got that little cushion there, those 3 games in hand, on the Devils, 2 games on the Rangers, at least 1 on Montreal. So there's going to be some a shuffling, I believe, in these final 2 wildcard positions. But I had hit the panic button with the Devils at 83 points, and these other teams starting to catch up. And the way they played against Winnipeg was frightening. And because, hey, let's face it, these are the type of teams, and I get it, Winnipeg and, Washington are the 2 best teams in the league this year. But still, if you're going to go and make a run of the playoffs, these are the type of teams you're going to have to play against. But then they come back last night and they actually give the effort and the emotional play with the physicality that we have all been yearning for since Christmas time, where it just poof seemed to wash up and disappear. And they had the killer instinct yesterday, put the dagger in the Minnesota Wild in the 3rd period, did not let them creep back into the game. Thomas Tatar, after the captain's hat trick, made it 5-2, which sealed the deal. And now I'm like, all right, maybe I'm only half on the panic button. Let's see how they go Monday against Minnesota. But Shorts Guy, let's catch up with you. How were you feeling after the Winnipeg game where they got shut out?
I was not happy at all. Obviously, like everyone else was. It pissed me off more was what pissed me off more, I should say, was the defensive play of the team, which was absolutely atrocious. You've got the first goal. You had a man wide open in the slot, surrounded by 4 Devils jerseys, and is able to a backhand chip up over Jake Allen. The second goal was a bad outlet pass from Brett Pesce to the skates of Nemec, which led to a guy streaking in from just inside the blue line. That was pretty bad defensive debacle. And then you had the other goal that I didn't like was just an awful bounce for the one that was shot wide and just found the right spot. And it seemed like Nico kind of had a similar goal last night, but it was just bad defensive plays, and the
Yeah,
offense wasn't there.
I don't think any of those Winnipeg goals you can really put on the goaltender. I mean, there were a lot of bad
No,
bounces in that game that just kind of went Winnipeg's way. My main concern was the lack of 5-on-5 offense as well for this
yeah,
team. They had one good stretch on the power play. Timo Meyer hit the post, but other than that, it was just
yeah. That was the other thing. That was a turning point in the game because you have Timo Meyer hitting a post with a virtually wide open net, and he buries that, and it's a completely different game. Well, potentially completely different game, but he doesn't bury it, and they wind up scoring. I want to say they scored shortly thereafter that. So it was, man, it was frustrating to watch, and I just it's the defensive plays, and I've spoken about it over and over again. The defensive structure of this team looks absolutely horrific. And I mean, if you're seeing what Markstrom's been trying to do before he's gotten these last two wins, the defensive play was just has let him down over and over and over again, and it's just continuing. And we're not going to go very far into the playoffs if we can't shore up this defense.
but then they come back last night, you know, no Jack Hughes,
Yeah.
obviously, no
Yep.
Dougie, no Siegs. It was a big difference without Lukey Boy in the lineup as well. Now he gets back in the lineup and he pays dividends 29 seconds into the game,
Yeah.
where he starts
That
an
was a
outlet
way
pass.
different start.
Way different start. And
Way
just
different
all
start.
together. What is this? Kovacevic drops the gloves. Look at that. There's a fight, and all of a
Oh
sudden
my
everyone
gosh.
is involved and is charged up. Markstrom is going after Hartman for shooting the puck in the net after the. Let me ask you, Mr. Goaltender, how, like, I know it's an unwritten rule, but if someone ever did that to you, like, play is stopped, there's a fight going on, whistle's already blown, and then someone comes by and shoots the puck into the net, how insanely pissed off is the goaltender in that situation?
It's going to go either one of two ways. Either A, that guy is trying to piss you off, so
Mm-hmm.
you just chirp something back at him like, "Oh, that's the only way you can put the puck in the net is after the whistle and when no one's looking, right?" So you either say something like that to him, uh, because that you don't want it to get you off your game. However, what Markstrom did, I fully support as well. Like Markstrom went after him. Like I've been in that position where you just kind of
Have
you
you
just
gone
go
after
after
someone
someone.
before on
Oh
something
yeah,
like that?
I
Yeah.
have. Oh yeah, totally. Every goalie has. Uh,
That's
every
when you
goal.
look and you see Billy Dean skating the opposite direction and you're like, hey, where you going? Get back
There
here.
was there was one game a couple years there was one game a couple years ago where it got really heated and I just tripped someone completely intentionally and the ref just looked at me as like, I can't let that one go. I was like, yeah, I know. And it's just like like um but yeah, it's annoying. It's absolutely annoying. Um and that was more than likely he was trying to get under Markstrom's skin, and Markstrom wasn't just going to handle it because we've seen Markstrom uncharacteristically show a ton of emotion because of his frustration. So I'm
Hmm.
sure the tail of the tape going into all these games is Markstrom's not playing well. If we can get at him early, he may it'll potentially get him off his game. So that could definitely be it as well. Like that could be the story on Markstrom right now. Is like, hey, just kind of get under his skin because he's frustrated. Because when things aren't going well, like it's been for him, it's the most annoying thing. And sometimes the smallest little things will set you off. But I feel like he's starting to get that back under control and
I
coming
feel
back
like
at it.
his
But
I feel like his emotions helped him yesterday, and
I
that
think
like
so too.
he seemed like he was totally in, where other times it seemed like the frustration was getting to him more.
Hmm.
Yesterday it seemed like all that emotion helped, just spur him on into, like, I am not going to let another puck pass me right now. Like, this is it. I'm
Yeah.
I'm shutting the door, and this, no matter what I do, I'm going to do everything humanly possible that I can to keep this puck at, like, it seemed to me like it was more motivation yesterday. As some of the other games, like you were saying, you see the frustration on his face and you see him kind of like out of his own head, you know?
Mhm. And it happens. It happens. It's happened to me. It's happened to every goalie. And I think I know the one thing that you learn very early on if you're going to be a successful goalie in hockey is you got to make sure your emotions are in check, because once they're out of check, it, it it could be bad. And I can understand the frustration that he's had since the injury, like trying to get that win and being so close, being less than a minute away against the Canucks, and things like that, and then losing in the shootout that same night. It's like it's frustrating, but his emotions did help him last night, and I'm hoping that's what happens going forward. I'm going to assume they're going to put him in tomorrow. I'd be kind of surprised if they started Jake Allen after how Markstrom played last night,
That was going to be
unless they
my
keep
next
going
question
with the
for you.
flip flop. Unless they keep going with the flip flop that they've been doing. But this may be a time when you're going to see Markstrom 2 games in a row, because there's
4
Tuesday
games
through
off,
Friday is
4
off.
days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
4 days off. And then you have to assume that you're going to see Markstrom again on Saturday, because he's really, he's played very well against the Rangers, and he steps up to those rivalry games, the games that really mean a lot. And
Mhm.
it's he played well against Minnesota last night. So why not give him the second game against them, unless they're trying to you know kind of stick to Minnesota and give them something to think about by putting in Jake Allen. I don't know.
Okay. Well, Brooke Amanda says my panic button should still be pressed. Joseph Lanham says if the Devils play like they did last game, they can handle the Canes, who were, the most likely first round opponent at this
hmm
moment. The rock and roll outlaw over here, Wimpy, stopped listening to Clutch for this. Well, a Shogun named Wimpy, welcome to the podcast over here. Brooke Amanda also, I don't trust the team without just this team without a Hughes on the roster. Yeah, when Luke was not in there against
It
Winnipeg, it
was
was,
evident.
yeah, it was. And it's scary how much of an impact Luke Hughes at this young age already has on this team. Like, whew, night and
Yeah.
day compared to when he was out of the lineup on Friday and then back in the lineup on Saturday. Night
hmm
and day. Really
I
was.
was I was worried when they either announced or someone was speculating it was a groin injury, which that worries me, having had a groin injury twice. That's not an easy injury to come back from. So it must not have been either A, that, or B, not that bad.
Yeah, because he was in pre-skates, they said, and then they just held him out for precautionary reasons. So
hmm
listen, we don't need to be losing any more on the D line right now. Like, no
No,
more,
no,
please. We too
and
many injuries as it
they're
going.
they're right to be cautious with that. And it's it would I think it would take an epic collapse for us to at this point not be in the playoffs. But you never know. But you have to really be careful when it comes to an injury, especially on that back line. So it may be one of those things where they kind of looked at the opponent and they said, "Listen, this is going to be a tough one to begin with. Let's not have him out there trying to get hurt." You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I see Brooke and Wimpy are backing us up on that. Brooke says I'd argue Luke's absence had more of an impact than Jack's. I mean, right now, yeah.
hmm
Luke has gone to the next level. He really has. Um, and Jay Snow here, yeah, not taking away anything from Luke, but also factor in Seeks and Dougie. And yeah, when Dougie went down, Luke just kind of really stepped into that top offensive, defenseman type of role. And he was running with it. But without Siegs, we've seen Kovacevic kind of struggle a little bit.
Yeah.
Those two were partnered up very well. But yeah, I mean, with no Luke in that lineup, and you're putting Cholowski in there and
hmm
Nemitz, who he's got his bad games, and there have been, and he's got some good. Last game was a good game. He's still a young kid who needs a lot more. I know he doesn't think so, but he still needs a lot more training and readiness before he can roll at that NHL level there. But yeah, when
And look,
you go ahead.
looking at our defensemen right now. I was just trying to do it in my head, but I had to look at the roster. Uh, Luke is the most senior Devils defenseman by as far as time on this team that is out there.
Wow,
He is
without
the most.
without
He is
Siegs,
the
yeah,
most.
and
Yep,
without Siegs
the
and
most
Dougie,
tenured
yeah.
Devils defenseman. So
Wow.
that's right. It's like Kovacevic came in the beginning of this year, as did Pesci.
And Dylan.
Nemec, yeah, Dylan. Nemec is been up and down, but not like I know he was here last year, but Luke is really the most
That's
senior tenured Devils defenseman that has played consistently.
that's an eye-opening stat right there. I didn't even think about that, but that is
Yeah,
100% true. Without Siegs and Dougie, yeah, that
he's
is
it.
crazy. Wow,
He's it.
man.
I
Whew.
mean, the other guys have fit in very well. Kovacevic and Pesci and Dylan. But then you even got Chewalski and Dumoulin, who are they're brand new as of like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind
What'd
of
you
like a
think about
piecemeal defensive core.
what'd you think about Kovacevic dropping the old mitts there with Foligno?
I like seeing that, and
Me
it,
too.
it seems it seems to be that Kovacevic has um, been standing out a lot more since he was called out by Sheldon Keefe. And maybe I'm just noticing him more. Maybe I'm looking to him more. I don't know.
Last
It just could be
last night they
coincidental,
played
but
playoff style hockey, that's for sure. Last night.
yeah,
Winnipeg, not so
yeah.
much. But Saturday night in Minnesota, that was playoff style hockey.
It was, and that was two teams that were looking for 2 points in that game.
Yeah.
Because you look at Minnesota, they are tied with St. Louis for that final wild card spot, but Vancouver is I don't think they're really going to make much more of a splash at 81 points. It's going to be tough for them because St. Louis is just on a tear recently. Minnesota is fighting for their wild card or bottom three lives there. So they were fighting too, and
Yeah.
Foligno was. I loved the. I loved how Foligno was the fight. Was the fight after the penalty he got for embellishment?
Yes, that was right at the end of the first, and that was also
He
with Kovacevic as well.
Kovacevic, yeah.
Kovacevic got the cross-checking, and Foligno took the dive there.
Oh,
And
he did.
then Foligno, from my eyes, I don't know. Dano on the broadcast said he thought it was a clean hit. I don't know. Bryce Salvador said it looked to me like he hit Dumoulin right in the numbers. So to me, that should have been a boarding call as well. But that's when Kovacevic dropped the glove, and for some reason, Foligno dropped his gloves first. Yet
Hmm.
Kovacevic somehow got an unsportsmanlike conduct
I don't know.
penalty. Like,
Uh,
like what? Like, how the frig does that happen? I don't understand it, but
it's the
either way.
NHL officiating. It's the NHL officiating. I mean, when they gave him the embellishment penalty, and Kovacevic got the cross checking, it's like, well, if you're going to give Foligno the embellishment, then really was the cross check all that bad? They're like, was it like a nominal cross check? But they were like, yeah, we gotta call that, but we can't just let this guy dive. Uh,
Yeah.
but but Foligno's reaction when they announced it was embellishment was just absolutely hysterical. He just
He
lost
tried to come
his
out of the
mind.
box. How is
Oh
that
yeah,
not
he
an
opened.
unsportsmanlike? He tried to
I
come out of
don't
the box.
know. I don't know. And then they were jawing at each other, and so that was something was going to occur between those two at some point in that game. But good on Kovacevic for not um, for not backing down after Keith called him out, but for trying to step up.
Yeah.
Making some mistakes, taking some bad penalties here or there, but he hasn't shrunk from the spotlight. Like that. That definitely could have like caused him to be in a little tailspin, but he seems like he's stepping up and he's working on getting that game where Keith wants it. And maybe Keith knows that that's the button he has to push with Kovacevic. Like you don't know. Again, we are not privy to what these relationships are in the locker room. So
Right.
maybe that's the type of player Kovacevic is. Maybe that's the type of motivation he needs. Maybe he was getting complacent. We don't know.
I mean, I agree because I've seen a lot of that physicality disappear, which
Hmm.
was a big part of Kovacevic's game. In the first, quarter of the season there. It seemed to be he was dropping the gloves. It was a lot of more big hits. And again, it seems to coincide with Siegenthaler going down, where his game kind of, went off track. So it
Hmm.
may be just getting used to new D partners or, different reliability of what Siegenthaler brings to the table. We know Siegs is a good, stay at home D man, which Kovacevic, essentially is as well. But Kovacevic does have some offensive upside too. Um, but it could be a lot of that just with Siegenthaler going down that really it shook his game up, and
Yeah,
maybe he's finally. I don't know. Maybe he's been playing through an injury. We always find that out at the end of the season. Oh
possible.
yeah, I was playing with a half torn quad there since Christmas
Yeah.
time. Oh, well, that explains it. Glad I've been bashing you for 4 months, and now we find out, you have this injury that you've been playing through.
Yeah, yeah. It's either that or it's definitely tough to get used to a new defensive partner or a new line mate. That just abruptly ends. So that could definitely that relationship was now gone. And on top of that, maybe Kovacevic got into his mind a little bit, knowing that Dougie went down, Siegenthaler went down, and if maybe he got into his mind like, well, maybe now I have to watch my game so I don't go down because if I go down, this defensive core is really screwed.
Mm.
That could have played into it as well. Maybe he was trying to change his game up so that he wouldn't be the next guy, that's getting injured. There's
Or
there's a lot to it.
maybe he thought he needed to contribute more offensively
Could be.
with Dougie going down too, and maybe that was getting him out of his game. Either way, last night all around is the way we want this team to play. I
Hmm.
mean, they were like bulldogs out there. They were
Yeah.
hitting, they were scrapping. There were a number of scrums, after the whistle. Like we said, Kovacevic dropping the gloves. You saw everyone on the bench up tapping sticks and stuff like that. So they were emotionally invested. I think a big part because of the physicality. Like Sam Wu always says, beefalytics.
Yeah. And it was the second half of a back to back, which we've historically not been really good at. And
Not been
and
really good is a nice way of saying frigging
eh,
terrible.
yeah, yeah. But it's these we've had a lot of slow starts in games, and this fast start was a complete change to what we've seen, which is huge. It's what you got to do, especially
Yeah.
like if you're in a position like Markstrom, to where you're struggling to find your game, and you wind up going down 1-0 early on. It just kind of starts to snowball right there. It's like, holy crap, we're down already. Like what? Because and then I've said this before too. Like when your team is struggling to score, you kind of get a little bit uptight. So if your team is struggling to score and you let one in early, you're like, oh crap, we can barely get one. Now we got to get two. Like it
Hmm.
makes things worse. So a lot of this is just not. It's been a lot of bad things piled on the bad things, but that's the type of start they have to have pretty much every game from here on out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 2 goals in the first 6 minutes of the period. I mean, that
It's
was
great.
incredible. Yeah. And it just seemed that jump and that hunger, along the boards when those puck battles and stuff like that, like, woo, it was there.
Yeah.
So want to see more of that. And I know next game, though, tomorrow night at home at the Rock, Minnesota is going to come out
Hmm.
looking to, reap vengeance upon the New Jersey Devils, to exercise the demons from that loss last night. So, and we're going to get, Flurry probably getting a little goodbye game there in New Jersey.
Hmm.
And we'll see who's in net. Shorts guy says Markstrom should be back in net, trying to get his game back up to speed. It might be that way. It might be Jacob Markstrom, getting the majority of these games down the course of the rest of the season here. Because after tomorrow, it's a 6 pack of games. That's it.
Yeah. And it could also be, they're talking to Markstrom and Allen if because we have to have a starter going into the playoffs. You're going to have a starter with the playoffs, and it's at this point if Markstrom is starting to feel better, he's gonna go to Keith and be like, just give me all the games you can, just let me get going. And if he's
Yeah.
feeling better, and if he's feeling better, then that is really good for this team. But then the question mark is going to remain, like, can we score?
Mm-hmm. All right, so we got Wimpy and Jay Snow are saying that they think it's going to be Allen tomorrow. Joseph Lanham, New Jersey fans need to get loud as hell. That's for damn sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he liked their desperation in last night's game. And you agree right there. I say, oh, there's your comment, Shorts guy. Yeah, they need to keep that desperation,
Yeah.
and play with it, because that really took them to another level, against like I said, Minnesota. They're no chumps. This is
No, they're
a
not.
playoff team right there that they're going against. This isn't the Blackhawks or the Sharks or something like that. No offense to those teams, but let's face it, not really that
Mm-hmm.
good this year. Okay, this
No,
is
they're
a
not.
higher caliber team, the Minnesota Wild, and they played one of their best games of the year without Jack and Dougie and Seeks.
Yeah. Yeah, which is huge. And on the other end, on the other side of the ice, that's Markstrom's national team teammate there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Gustafson.
he's
Yep.
got he's got a little bit that, and there again is one of those odd situations. And maybe it's different in the NHL, but as far as I've always experienced, like if you know the other guy in net, like you want to outdo him. Like you want to outdo the guy, if especially if you're friends with him. Like you want to outdo that guy. So that was there too. So that could have added to the little bit of extra fire that Markstrom had. So we'll see what tomorrow brings, and I'm looking at um,
What is
the
this? Kennedy
Wilds.
Ray, Flower plus Markstrom, Weed plus Markstrom tomorrow night is her call. Is that what that is? You going to buy some flour? All right, all right. I know they got those
Could
stores over there at
be.
NJ now. Okay.
Yeah, like they've got us tomorrow, the Wild, and then they're doing the tri-state area swing with the Rangers Wednesday and the Islanders Friday. So Flower will definitely get a game. I'm curious if they would give Flower the game at MSG, because I feel like that's the type of game that they would want to give him as like a final East Coast game.
Yeah, maybe. We shall see. Um, Very nice, Kennedy. Selecta says this is a good point too, and they have to maintain a lead against the teams they play
Mm-hmm.
and not stay in their own zone after the score. That is something that we have seen the Devils when they do have a lead, they stop, pressing the pedal to the metal. They take the
Yeah,
foot
they go
off the
into a shell.
gas. Yeah, and they start to fall back more. And I don't think that's a good recipe for this team. It allows teams to crawl back in, and we've talked all year about this team lacking that killer instinct. Well, they had it last
Mm-hmm.
night against Minnesota after Nico got his hattie. They didn't allow them to score again because in the second period there, they were up 3-1. All right, it's 3-2. And that's anyone's game at that point. Okay,
That's
you go up
yeah.
4-2. Are you going to let them just get right back into it 4-3, and then you go into a situation in the final 2 minutes where they pull the goaltender and you got to defend 6-on-5? No, you get that fifth goal there from Tuna.
Mm-hmm.
That's the killer instinct that this team needs that obviously has been missing. But last night, it came back. So hopefully this is a start, of that sticking around, because it's a very good point. The Devils let teams back into games very often. We all know that they've been chasing
Yeah.
games, but when they do score first, they tend to blow those leads over and over again.
Yeah, and that's not good. And that's not what you want to have going into the playoffs. That's not going to get you very far in the playoffs if they continue to do that. So they have to just start clamping down. There are some teams that the more you allow them to hang around in the game, they get better and better. And I feel like the Hurricanes would be one of those teams that if the Devils are going to allow them to stay in games, they're just going to continue to be, they're a well-coached team, Carolina. They're
Yep.
just, the longer that they're in a game, the higher chance that I think that Carolina would have a chance to win.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to start getting out of this, like, oh, let's just let them hang around. It's like, no, just kill them off, take them behind the barn, like Samu always likes to say. Old Yeller them in
Old
the very
Yeller 'em.
beginning, old Yeller
Mm-hmm.
them, and put the game out of reach.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're gonna have to do against the Hurricanes if we see them in the first round.
Yeah. Like you were saying, if you let them stick around, Brenda Moore's going to have them making a comeback at
Oh my
some point
gosh.
because
Yeah.
they're not going to stop hustling throughout that
Mhm.
entire game. And yeah, right now, the way things are looking, that might be how it shakes out. That we do play Carolina there in the first round.
Yep.
And we haven't had the best luck against them recently, so let's hope that they can keep this killer instinct if that is the case, because Carolina is going to be coming, with everything they got. Every year it's
Corb.
like, we expect Carolina to be, making
Yeah.
and they get bounced every year, like,
Mhm.
so they're going to be doing their damnedest to try and get into the finals again.
Yeah. Corbin drove 6 hours to watch that game against Winnipeg. Oh,
Oh,
Corbin. Oh, I know that feeling.
oh, oh,
I know that
Corbin.
feeling to travel that far for a game and then just see your team just absolutely blow it. I've done that more
Wait, you
times
drove
than I want to
6
admit.
hours to Winnipeg? What, do you live at the North Pole? Is that where you're at, Corbin? Are you at the North Pole up there? Man, how far up in Canada do you live?
Jeez. 6 hours into Winnipeg. And it
Oh,
snowed.
jeez.
It was
And it
snowing in
snowed. The spring snowstorm.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Man.
wild. You know, it
Well,
was
6 hours in the snow,
it
you
was
are a
tough.
trooper, Corbin. I
Yeah.
was ready to be heard.
Yeah.
He could sense the disappointment as he was around hour 4. He just knew what he
Yeah.
was in for.
Yeah, you just had that sinking feeling. You're like, this isn't going to end well in my favor.
It's like, I hope it's dollar hot dog night or something at the
Yeah.
arena. That's
Uh,
Sam Woo's favorite night. I mean,
it is.
dollar salad night. Dollar salad night.
Corbin, I know you're paying, man. That was Sam Wu and I going down to the Tampa game just to watch them lose.
Mm. Or Pocket
Corbin, you're.
Burrito Fridays
Oh
at
yeah,
the Rock.
right. Corbin's in Saskatchewan there. Okay. Still,
Oh, you're in
that's a heck
Saskatchewan.
of a
Okay.
ride. We are in.
They call it Winterpeg for a reason.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, I got a friend who lives up around Edmonton, and yeah,
Ugh,
it's just like covered in snow, like for 10 months out of the year.
that's
I always
insane.
tease, I always say the same thing. I'm like, how's it doing up at the North Pole now? She's like, I'm not that far up. I'm like, yes,
Yeah, you're
you
far
are,
enough.
honey.
You're
Yeah,
far
you
enough.
are. 35
Corbin,
bucks for 2 beers. What?
that sounds about right. That sounds about Prudential Center. Is that 35 Canadian or 35 American? Because that's doing the math here. It's like $16 for a decent beer at the Prudential Center. So it sounds about right.
Man, I don't even know how much. I went to the Down show last night. Do they have those things where you just scan your card now and they have the video cameras everywhere and you just pick up whatever you want and you walk out and you automatically get charged?
They have a couple of them at the Rock. Not all of
Okay.
them, but they do have a couple places like that.
We're
35 Canadian for those
I
two
wonder how
beers.
much I spent last night on those beers. Just go in there, scan the card, I just like open it up and then walk out. I'm like, all
Ah,
right, this is dangerous. This is dangerous.
uh, and yeah,
Sam
I
says
mean,
if it's $35 Canadian, that's like $7.50 American, apparently. According to Sam Woo, Sam Wooenomics right there. It's not
oh,
in Woo
Sam Wu.
bucks, Sam. It's in actual money.
Yeah. Hey,
17 a
I'll.
beer in Dallas. Holy hell.
It's less than $7 to get a beer in England at the stadium, so I'll drop that in there because that was awesome. Getting beers for like $5.
Man, I can't even
Oh,
imagine how much beers are going to be at Dodger Stadium this year. They're going to be like
oh my
$30 for a
gosh.
beer.
Yeah, it wouldn't even be worth it. That's why you do all the drinking before you go in.
Oh, yeah, of course.
That was like
But
that was always my favorite part about going to the Mets game is you grab the beer in the big 32-ounce to-go cup with a straw at at uh at the train station. You just chug that from New York to Mets Willets Point, and
mhm.
That was your start. You're going pretty good at that point.
I'm excited. Oh yeah, you drink on the train. Yeah, you get the little paper bag and everything. That was awesome. I think the Mets are out here in LA early this season. I think so. Yeah, I'll be finding out what those prices are like.
Oh, I'm
Relatively
sure you will.
soon. Yeah,
That's the cost of championships right there.
man. Actually, I know this dude who's got a flask that is made out
Hmm.
of binoculars. So he brings the binoculars, like he's gonna watch the game, but it's really two flasks. And he's like,
That's
I
awesome.
fill those bad boys up with JD, and I go in there and I just drink Jack Daniels the entire game. I'm like, that's
Oh,
a smart man right
that's a
there.
great idea. That is a great idea.
He's like, they never stopped me. I was like, all right, man, that's what's up. My guy Dan out here, he's a big Dodger fan. He's like, I ain't paying those prices. They're ridiculous.
I I don't blame him, man.
So
I
it's
used to
17 for a beer at the Rock now?
depending on what you get. I mean, unfortunately, I
Holy
like good
man.
beer. I like something that's not Bud Light, so it's a little bit more pricey, and it sucks.
Matt
It sucks
Freudenberger.
paying
Last
that.
time we went to Washington for Devil's Caps, it was $20 a beer.
Ugh,
Holy hell.
it's wild.
Oh, and Kennedy's from
Yeah.
Kansas City. All right.
All
Yeah,
right.
that's a far drive. The original home of the Devils.
Yeah.
Got to get
Scouts.
I got my Nico Heischer throwback Scouts jersey.
There you
An
go.
Adidas one, or as they say in Europe, Adidas. The
That's a
official
good
one.
one. That's a
That's the
good
good
one.
one. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. That was a nice gift.
Yeah, I just pulled mine out of the mine was tucked away, and I just pulled it out of the closet recently. That it's
Yeah.
blank. It's got no it. I don't have a player on. I'm gonna keep it blank, but that was a nice color scheme that they did with that one.
Joseph's got the glasses that look like binoculars. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a smooth move by my guy Dan. Wasn't expecting that. He's just like, yeah, pregame, and then I just fill these up with JD. I'm like, not even beer. You're filling both flasks up with Jack Daniels straight. I'm like, hot damn, man.
I
All
have
right,
to agree
so
with. I gotta agree with Stephen Engel on this before we move on. Guinness is better, much better in Ireland. I can say that.
oh yeah. So we'll look to see if we suddenly start seeing a whole bunch of Devils fans with binoculars in the in the upper decks.
Yeah. Right.
No, I just want to see the game more closely. That's all. Sir,
Yeah.
your binoculars smell an awful lot like Jack Daniels.
Oh my gosh. I feel like you'd be lucky to get those. I feel like you'd be lucky to get those in past the rocks. Excuse me, the rock security. They're just. I feel like you can bring nothing into that arena.
um, Kennedy here. Let's see. I want the throwback jersey. Yeah, it's a nice jersey. You should check it out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Do they still? I don't know if they're still making them.
Nah, you have to buy that secondhand. You have to basically buy that if someone's selling it. So I mean, they're around. I see them pop up for sale occasionally. But it's, I mean, not for nothing. If you live by either a Marshalls or a Ross, it's not too bad to go pop in there because a lot of Adidas jerseys are showing up on the racks there that they're getting rid of
Oh, really?
for like
Hmm.
$30.
No, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Damn.
I, I,
Adidas one,
I
like actual Adidas one?
yep, yep.
Hmm.
I could have
Not
bought.
just Adidas. Without the I there, the old Adidas jerseys.
Oh yeah, no, they are the legit ones. They are.
Wow.
Yeah,
Damn.
yeah. I could have bought myself a handful of Islander or Flyer jerseys this morning, but I had no desire to get either one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. It would have to be someone really cool to be able to get that. I wouldn't. I don't know. I
Hmm.
don't know if I'd ever wear a Flyers jersey.
Oh, I never would. I would never wear a Flyer. I would never wear an Islander. Nope, nope, nope.
It would have to be someone hmm, for an Islanders jersey. I'll tell you what. The only time I would ever wear a Flyers jersey is if it would be a Glenn Chico Resch jersey. That'd be it. That would be the only time.
No, I still wouldn't do it.
In honor of the pregame brawl, that Chico was on the ice for when Claude Lemieux shot the puck down onto the other end into their goal, and a massive Donnybrook ensued before the game started. There's poor Chico out there skating around, trying to break things up. Oh man. Stephen Angle, the green reverse retro. I love that jersey. That one is so badass. I wish they would wear that more. I wish they would wear the Stadium Series jersey. The jerseys, listen, I've said a million times that I think they're ugly, but I wouldn't mind them being a little bit rebranded, add a little bit more red into them, put the logo on there for crying out loud. You want to keep the jersey thing, like turn the J into the state, and then have that ERSEY, like make it a little bit different, like move the jersey thing up to the shoulder patch or something like that. I don't know, but get the logo. You want to do like the all white logo, but just add some more red in there. And it can be done.
Just give us the starter jersey from the mid-90s. That's all we want.
That as well.
Just give us the starter jersey from the mid-90s.
Yeah. But I do like those the reverse retros I thought were hot. I got one of those, but I got the Fanatics one. I know you got the real deal Adidas one in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I got the iron-on sleeve numbers of the friggin' Fanatics.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, the green one. Green's my favorite color, so I had to get the green one. And just I've lucked out and gotten all the good fun jerseys. So I got to say I'm pretty lucky in that regard.
Hey, Sean McIntyre says agree with the authentic Adidas fight strap and all. Yeah, that's what my Scouts throwback has too. It has the fight strap. $50 at my local Marshalls last week. All right,
yeah,
hockey
they're
fans.
Up.
Yeah, get out there to I guess Marshalls and check it out. There's actually a Marshalls down the street. I'm gonna go in there and see if they got anything. It'll probably be all like Kings gear and Ducks over here, but maybe maybe.
But you never know. Someone found, and this is what I stopped on my way home today. Someone found like 3 or 4 Stadium Series jerseys at a Marshalls or Ross recently.
No kidding.
Like,
really?
Oh, like the Adidas Stadium Series, the ones you could not get. It was wild that someone actually found them there for like $30.
I mean, it took me like 6 months just to get my Fanatics one of that. Remember that? I got it like 6 months after the fact. I'm like, oh, I forgot I ordered this actually. Awesome. It finally came in.
Yep.
Those were a hot commodity. I don't think they've worn them this year.
No, probably. I'm curious if they're not allowed to wear them because of the move from Adidas to Fanatics.
I don't know, because I've seen other teams wear their Stadium Series jerseys. Like,
I'm curious if maybe there was and let's not forget that Fanatics, I believe, is owned by one of the Blitzer Harris Group people. So I'd be curious if maybe they didn't want to use any of those designs. I don't know. I wish they would, because I think the Stadium Series jersey one is one of the best that they've had.
Ever.
Next to the green one behind me, it's one of the best they've ever had.
Yeah, I don't get it, man. Like, I've definitely seen other teams wear their Stadium Series jerseys not in the Stadium Series. The Red Wings have been doing it, pretty often now, because everyone's like, "Damn, those buckets are nice with the wings on the side and everything like that." So,
yeah,
they look good. They look good. Why the Devils have not worn them, I don't know, but I would love to see the reverse retros and the Stadium Series, even the Scouts throwbacks just for a game, like do it, and like honor the legacy of the team,
totally.
But those other jerseys are so sweet.
Yeah.
And just redesign the jersey a little bit. Slap the logo on the front, put that jersey thing, just change it around a little bit, get a little more red in there, and like it wouldn't be so awful. but whatever.
It wouldn't be. It wouldn't be. And that jersey grew on me, and I picked one of them up, towards the end when Adidas was selling, and they were starting to sell that stuff off cheaper. And I'm glad I did, but I don't know, it's grown on me, but it's not my favorite. But I'm still I have to send it out to get Shorts Guy on the back, because why not?
Gotta
Why not?
do it.
Yeah.
Well, this has been an exciting episode of the old Let's Go Devils podcast here, the Scotty Shorts Guy edition of the show here. We have the legend, the king of the football calls himself, Sam By God Woo, is still on an incredible high from Penn State, advancing to their first Frozen Four. And I think they're actually going to be playing BU, right? So it'll be Jay Pandolfo and LaChance and Yegorov at Boston University, which, man, does that kid look good. He looks like he's like 8 feet tall in net.
I know.
Like, he is a monster. I think they're going to be playing Penn State. I'm not sure how the brackets
I'm looking at the bracket out now.
And for some reason they don't do the games. Is that what it is? Penn State and BU?
Penn State's going to
play. They don't do the games until like the 10th of April. I don't know why they have to wait like 10 days here, 11 days. Oh, no, they play Denver?
I'm looking. No, because Penn State. What happened?
Well, Sean McIntyre says we did wear the Stadium Series jersey last year one more time.
Yeah, one other game they wore them.
Yeah, but it hasn't been this year. So, and what is Boston College about to lose? They got an empty net. Oh yeah.
So Denver would play Western Michigan, and then Penn State would play BU.
Unless my TV is behind here. Because Jason over here is saying Denver just won, and I got a minute 12 left, and it's 2-1. So maybe it's just my crappy Spectrum internet here behind on things once again. But either way, it's going to be exciting for the college hockey, and check out BU. Yegorov could be the future in the nets between the pipes for the New Jersey Devils. So we'll be back tomorrow doing another Game Day Live with Shorts Guy and Vinny Parisi. And then, of course, Devils After Dark post-game after the Wild and Devs with yours truly, Scotty and Sam By God Woos. Shorts Guy, do you have any final thoughts real quick as the music's already playing?
Just the Devils got to keep winning. Oh, and final thought, and I know I've said this before, but Shorts Guy gets to play on the Prudential Center ice next Saturday after the Devil Ranger.
Woohoo! Mm-hmm. Nice, very cool.
Gonna be fun.
We'll have to get a cheering section going on for that. My final thought for the Devils: play physical again.
Yes.
Get the emotions into it. We're looking forward to talking to you all tomorrow again, hopefully celebrating a Devils victory at home at the Rock. If you're going to the game, hit us up. Always tag us on the socials. For Shorts Guy and myself, Scotty, this has been the Let's Go Devils podcast. And how do we end every show? Let's go Devils.